I want to start this video off by saying that I don't intend this to be a bashing session. I'm not here to beat the dead horse that is NERF right now. I know there's a lot of other videos online, a lot of popular reviewers that are giving the NERF brand nothing but flack, and honestly, deservingly so, because this whole brand, for probably about the 2 years, for every good blaster that comes out, there is literally a dozen other ones that I think are just pure trash and honestly a waste of plastic. And that saddens me, because the entirety of our hobby, the NERF hobby, regardless whether it includes Dart Zone, Zuru, Buzzbee, Boomco, all of that, it still relies on that word. In fact, that brand name word, NERF, has been used to describe taking something and making it worse. And ironically, that's now what the brand is actually doing, and it frustrates me to no end. And I feel like, even though I don't know the numbers, even though I know Hasbro is a multi-billion-dollar company, I think they're the biggest toy company in the world and so forth, I feel like they're losing their way. And I know there's some telltale signs here that they're struggling somewhere. I'll take the Ruckus ICS-8, a blaster I was sent from Hasbro a very long time ago that I never did a video on, because I had nothing good to say about this blaster. Their whole marketing gimmick for this blaster is that it has an easy-to-load, non-removable 8-round clip. And I believe this blaster is normally around $20. This is far too much plastic, far too much waste for what this blaster actually does. Are there kids who are going to like it? There's even adults that are going to like it, sure. But it's something that they probably could live without in a variety, a simple strong-arm revolver with an 8-shot cylinder or something would do better than this blaster. And that besmirches the logo that is emblazoned on the plastic, but the way I know things are kinda not right is this right here. Use only official NERF darts. This started appearing on packages recently, and if you saw my review of the Alpha Strike line, it says the world's #1 blaster brand, and use only official NERF darts. That is a sign of desperation, and I'm honestly really worried about it. And I know the NERF brand is probably making more money than I could even count, but it really bothers me when I see things like this still on the shelves, and yet there are so many other blasters out there that I could get. You could literally have gone to Target. In fact, I think you still can. You can go to Target right now and pick up this blaster for $15, cheaper than the Ruckus, at least I believe at my local Walmart. And this is a 30-round hopper, full auto beast from a different company. Fires the same darts though, and to be perfectly honest, these darts are superior to NERF darts in every single possible way. And it's bothering me. So I want to take this time to make a somewhat constructive video telling Hasbro what they're doing right in my eyes and what I think they're doing wrong, and hopefully some of you down there in the comment section can chime in your own opinions as well. And I'm sure this is going to be a pretty intense video for a lot of people. Try to be respectful, because there's a lot of different opinions out there. Everybody's going to feel differently, but there's a lot of things that need to be said. Number one, I'm going to start off really easy since I'm already holding this box. This right here, this use only official NERF darts, and of course the Alpha Strike's famous #1 blaster brand, that kind of branding has to go. Because even if it does trick people into buying your products, it does not bring faith to your brand. Anybody who's ever used an Adventure Force waffle dart in any of your blasters has found out that they are superior in every single way. That's good on Adventure Force. They really did bring in a nice dart. Is it perfect for the hobby in every single way? No, but you can get twice, maybe even 3 times as many for the same price as your darts. The foam is better, the heads are better, they're more aerodynamic, they're better in every way. Use only official. Why? Why should I, Hasbro? Because I'm a dumb consumer and I don't know what's going on? Yeah, that will probably work on some people. But the longer this goes on, the more damage you're doing to this logo, and it has got to stop. The Alpha Strike line's #1 blaster brand is the biggest joke, because next to those blasters on the shelf are going to be blasters that look far better, that perform better, that may even be slightly cheaper at the same ideal price points. And if anybody ever picks those up over the Alpha line, they're going to be extremely impressed and they're going to be disappointed in you. It's fine if you want to put out a blaster that is competing at that same price and you have to cut some corners to do so. But relying on your logo to sell it just because you say so is the worst idea yet. It gets even more hilarious when I look at the back of the stupid box and it says use only official Nerf darts for performance and quality. I better stop seeing that somewhere down the line because that is the biggest crock of crap I think I can handle. I'm so mad I can't even continue. While we're on the subject, number 2, the Alpha Strike line. Now, I have a little bit of rumor that's been going around. I'm not going to repeat that in this video or else I'll get a strongly worded email, but the Alpha Strike line so far has been, I would almost say, a disaster. Yes, there are cheap blasters. Yes, you can get like a dozen jolts for like 15 bucks and stuff like that, but the problem with it is that every single one of those blasters is almost identical, and even the ones that you try to make look different are still the same internally. And they're still not even that cheap. I mean, most of the time you're buying a $15 or $20 set to get these blasters that should be $5, $6, $7. Wasn't that the entire point of the Alpha line? And God forbid if anybody actually walks into, again, a local Walmart or Target and sees those blasters right next to similarly priced blasters that look cooler and are way more effective. And consumers aren't dumb these days. They're going to look up reviews and sometimes they're going to see a video from an honest person that's going to say, this is terrible. This is god-awful. Do not buy this instead. And that is going to, again, do more damage as things go on. Now, the rumors I want to talk about is there does seem to be some minor thought process going into the whole Alpha Strike line because there's rumors of some blasters coming out that are mechanically interesting. They're still reshells upon reshells, but they are at least mechanically interesting that we've seen. And I hope to see that kind of stuff in the future. I wouldn't mind things like an Alpha Strike Strife. Now, do I necessarily want that? No, but something like that could be very interesting, especially at a very low price point. Is it going to happen? I have no idea, but I kind of wish stuff like that would. You're not using the Alpha Strike line to its full effectiveness, I feel, and again, the fact that on the front of the box it says #1 blaster brand kind of tells me that you're not trying with it, even though you really want to get these blasters in, because everybody talks about how expensive Nerf is now. Rolling right along, number 3, Nerf is far too flippin' expensive. As I've already touched on in both my previous points, your blasters are ridiculously expensive, and I think most of the reason why, a lot of times, is because there's a lot of wasted plastic. Now, I don't know the laws. There are obviously laws to make things a certain size and a certain rigidity and so forth, so it doesn't harm anybody, but there are still so many blasters that have tons of dead space, tons of empty space. There are just ridiculous blasters that shouldn't exist left and right that I don't think people are buying, because even when I read the reviews on Amazon, people are doing non-stop bashing with them. Yes, there's going to be people that like things like the Ruckus, but they're very far and few between, and there are probably blasters that they're going to like a heck of a lot more than things like the Ruckus. And I just don't know what to tell you other than look at your past. Look at things like the Strife, the Raven, blasters that people love, blasters that people continuously pick up, the Strong Arm, the Hammer Shot, stuff like this people really enjoy, that were also relatively compact and mechanically interesting blasters that did things that people wanted in a form factor that people like, that didn't cost you a ton of money to put out onto the market. And it seems every day we stray further and further from that. That's not to say that some of your blasters I don't think are a good deal. The Percy's is a $100 blaster, and honestly, I think that could easily be a $70 blaster, but I'm not a businessman. What I do know is that I haven't picked one up because I simply will not pay $100 for them, and lo and behold, about a month later, I could have picked one up at Target today for $46. And that's just going to get worse and worse as time goes on. And if they're already going to discount the blaster that much, it tells me it's not really selling that well, even though I think the Percy's is probably one of the best blasters you've released this year. And that is frustrating to me because you could have just put it at a price point that people would like. You can charge a lot of money for your darts and your blasters when you had no real competition, when everybody was just fighting to undercut you to be good enough for consumers to buy. But now you have tons of competition. Your prices are too high. Things like, let's say, the Titan, well, for one, my drum didn't even work, and a lot of other people have had problems with their drums over the last couple of months, so that can't be good for your image. But that blaster's almost entirely empty space. That really doesn't do anything. Big, imposing blasters, sure, they're awesome, but you need to throw more gimmicks in there if you're going to charge me $100 for it, because after I buy that drum, the blaster's probably going to sit there until I decide to do something cool with it. Next up, the NERF Ultra. Point number 4. Everybody's bashed about this, and honestly, I'm not going to bash it that much, but there are things just on this box, thank you very much to the Irish Nerf Herder for sending me a couple of these, that are really troublesome. For one, I'm sure you noticed that there's already a Walmart clearance sticker. This box was $1. These are $10 for 20 darts, and people hated that because your new blaster, the Ultra 1, had basically a lock in it to prevent you from using any other dart. I understand why you do that. We understand why you do that, because every other company right now is eating your lunch. They're absolutely destroying you in shelf space, and the Nerf section gets smaller and smaller every single time. You want to try to get your brand more out there. The huge marketing campaign for the Ultra series is kind of a telltale sign of that. But just look at this box for a second. I'm gonna ignore the fact, I'm not even gonna touch the darts yet, but look at this box. It's $10 for 20 darts, made out of some kind of polystyrene hybrid thing. But the thing that irks me the most about this kind of goes back to my first point. Why does it say furthest flying Nerf dart ever, which again isn't even true, and it says it fires up to 120 feet? It's a dart! There's no blaster here! If I shove this in a Maverick and shoot it, it's not going to hit 120 feet. And I guarantee you, you are going to put out blasters in the future that will not hit that mark. In fact, we already know this because the Ultra 1 itself does not hit that mark. Don't put that, take that off. If you want to sell a new dart, that's fine, because honestly, I still have hope for the Ultra darts. I don't think they're bad. I like the form factor. I think they're way more durable. Even though they can snap in half, they're still a hell of a lot more durable than a standard foam dart. And while I have concerns on if these things can even work in Springer blasters because of compressing the foam, I still have a little bit of hope. I think you can adjust the design of the dart to make them a little bit weightier, and I think they can be a good ammo type. Do we need it? Not really. But this is ridiculous. It has to stop, and everybody already hates the Ultra line. I have seen nothing good about the Ultra line from pretty much everybody. And I've held an Ultra 1. I liked how it felt. I liked how it looked. I didn't like how it performed, and I still do not own one. And if I ever have to do a review on one, it's gonna be scathing. This is not a bad dart, but it really, the whole idea needs to be changed. Point number 5, again talking about Ultra. You're now playing catch up. When you used to be an innovator, the entirety of my hobby is based around the NERF brand, the NERF logo. You brought this out as a knee-jerk reaction to the Dart Zone Pro because you knew that a lot of us, and we'll talk about us, were going to sing its praises because it was a company that was fully embracing our hobby. We want more velocity, more distance, because the higher velocity and distance we can get into something like this, the more interesting our battles are going to be. It's a lot more fun to play with NERF, in my opinion, than anything like airsoft or paintball or laser tag even. I don't care if I have to pick up the darts as long as I'm having fun doing so. And the fact that I can customize my blasters and do all this crazy stuff is what makes this hobby so important to me. And then you absolutely destroy everything by, instead of putting out a competent and good answer to things like the Dart Zone Pro, because companies like Primetime Toys are listening to the hobby, you just poop this out. And that's... come on, man. Come on. Stop it. I just want to talk about this really quick because it's still, like, you buy a $100 blaster, this is still a problem. See this? Looks pretty cool from this angle, don't it? It's kind of awesome. It's got the big white Rival branding on it and this cool striping stuff right there. This is only a $10 blaster, ignore the extra stuff. But then you flip it over and there's nothing there. It still has like this XX100 built into it, the 2100, because it came out in 2020, or that's their idea for this thing coming, but there's no paint scheme on it at all. And of course, this is to save a couple of pennies, because over a production run, that is tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars over time. But companies way smaller than you that have blasters at cheaper price points are able to paint both sides of their blasters, or they're coming up with more innovative ways to not use paint and just have snap-in plates with their logo and decals and stuff on them, or better yet, they're giving you sticker sheets that you can use to decal your own blasters in a way you would appreciate. If I'm buying something like a Percy's or a Titan or something, I'm paying $100 for this thing, or I'm buying your NERF Ultra 1, it has this big, gaudy gold Ultra on the side of it, and I flip it over and that same piece of plastic is there, but it's black, that's flippin' ridiculous. It is so aggravating. Yes, I can just paint this blaster however I want, that's fine, but I'm buying your product already, you're saving pennies, and you're not... Ugh. Every blaster does this from you, except for like some very specific things when you have a specific style like battle camo. Thank goodness most of the time those are at least have the camo pattern on both sides, but rarely do they even have the NERF logo painted on both sides. It is ridiculous and it really upsets me. And if I were to buy this for $11, I would pay the extra dollar just to have the paint on both sides because it would look so much better. And when I see a blaster from another company that does that and you don't, and they're beating you at that price point already, that doesn't look very good for you. Point number whatever. I know this is going to be a somewhat interesting topic because Hasbro, I'm assuming due to lawyers, can't really acknowledge that people like me who take their toys and upgrade them and make them hit way harder than they're supposed to exist. They can't condone exactly what we're doing. There are obvious reasons for that. If kids take their blasters apart and hurt themselves, if somebody gets hit by a modified blaster and gets seriously injured and has the NERF logo on it, that looks bad on them. But why is it a bunch of other companies can do the same thing and they're happy to do so? Why is that, Hasbro? Because we do a lot of marketing in this hobby. We obviously are a force that you can't ignore much longer. You're doing your best to put out actual people on basically that are very close to you that you can trust, that you can basically pay them to do the job that we actually do. That's fine. If you want to get somebody out there, you want to get multiple people out there that are doing that kind of stuff. That's great. You should be doing that. But the problem is that the more you ignore what we do, the worse it's going to become when we just start shunning you and we start promoting other brands above you. This has already been happening for years, and it's just getting worse as time goes on. Yes, you can send channels that don't do NERF stuff blasters, tell them to have fun with them. They do, they get millions of views, and they probably sell a couple of things. But you're also going to have channels that aren't on your payroll, that aren't going to do that, that are going to give you their honest opinion, and they're going to also get millions of views. And eventually, one of these things is going to give up, and the truth almost always prevails. I don't know what the solution to this is, because I understand why things are the way they are. But if Dart Zone can build a blaster, a competitive grade blaster, and put it up on their website and sell it through that website, why can't Hasbro use Hasbro Pulse to do the same thing? Even if the NERF logo was the problem, why don't you just make a new toy line or a new hobby line that uses your ammo, that hits harder, that does better? I would hope something like this is already in the pipeline, but at the same time, I've been hoping that for years and it has not shown up. I really want to see this hobby take off. This is so much fun. Every day I'm on the internet and I see something new that somebody built by combining a bunch of toys together and then souped them up and tuned it to the max is ridiculous to me. People will spend hours cleaning out dart magazines, polishing barrels, working on seals, making that new grip that they just cut off of another blaster and put it on their new favorite one as close to manufacturing perfection as they can get it. And it can only get bigger from here. There's a line that I really want to see come from a company that I think only you, Hasbro, could possibly do. And that is, I want you to take the idea of Zip Zaps and X-Mods, these customizable RC cars that I could pull almost everything out of, swap engines, swap wheels, gearings, add a whole bunch of stuff to them like lights and stuff like that, change the body style. I want you to take something like that and make it into a blaster line. Even if there are toy laws that prevent you from doing something like, oh, we can't have something that hits 100 FPS with a standard foam dart, that's just not allowed. Then is it allowed to sell a base blaster and then sell an upgrade part where all somebody has to do is kind of poke out 2 pins, pull out, disconnect 2 wires, and slam in a new thing? And give themselves a whole bunch more performance? Is that against the rules? Or is it because if they do that and then hit themselves in the face with it and do something to an eye socket or something like that, and your logo's on that thing, you're worried about getting demonized? Then do it under a different brand. Come on now. Like, that is money laying on the table. That is, you could charge $15-20 for a single flywheel cage, but as long as it hits performance marks that people want, they will pay it. Look at what we're paying right now for 3D printed flywheel cage and Chinese motors and Delrin wheels that random people on the internet are making. You don't think that's money that you could be making? Are you joking? What are some things you have been doing right? There have been blasters that are very interesting, that are at good price points, that do things that people want to see that they didn't have before. Very recently, I want to talk about things like the Nail Biter, a beautiful blaster. People love the Nail Biter. It works pretty decently well. It's not the highest performing blaster ever, but it has a large clip size for what it is. It's comfortable, to say the least, and it looks cool, and it does something. It's a single-handed clip-fed blaster. People love the idea of that. That's way better than the Ruckus, and they're at like the same damn price point. The Infamous, holy crap. Of everything you've done, the Infamous was a beautiful blaster, a very good idea. It had some stuff that really irked me. The slow reloading speed that I can't seem to upgrade no matter what, so I have to kind of wait for a dart to go in and then put another dart in and wait. That kind of sucked. And also, like, where are the extra features that it probably should have? You had the regulator, a decent idea, done very well, I would think, and you also have things like the Chrono Barrel, which does ammo counting and is a cheap, like, $12 part. Why haven't the Infamous, the regulator, and the Chrono Barrel come together into one blaster? I would have bought that with a 30-round drum or even a 50-round drum over the Titan any day of the week. And the Titan could not have been cheap to produce because the mold is like 4 feet flippin' long. And I'm sure I'm gonna get a blaster like that in the future, and who knows how much it will cost, but if it works good, I'm happy to buy it because that's a thing that I want. I want all these gimmicks and features. I want one-handed, okay firing clip-fed blasters. I want select fire. I want dart counting, and I want chrono readings even if they aren't that accurate. That's fine. At least the numbers being higher makes me happier. You know what I mean? And of course I want to be able to top up my magazines without taking them out of the blaster, which is the only blaster that I know of right now that is a flywheeler that I can do that with easily. It's a great idea, and yet I've seen nothing about it. The Infamous is already pretty much discontinued. I have not seen it on store shelves. It's gone. I can buy one on the internet, but how long is that going to be? I have to wait to see what you guys have in Toy Fair 2020 and hope that there's something big coming and not just, hey, look at this, it's a new Perseus, it's another Nemesis, it's another Prometheus, it's another Titan, it's another Ruckus, it's more Fortnite stuff. You know what? I don't even know what number I'm on. The Fortnite and the Overwatch stuff. It's fine. I don't mind that you guys are doing branded blasters more often now. You've been doing it with Star Wars and whatnot. Now we have game licenses, and I'm sure the licenses are only going to get better and better as time goes on. Why are there so many reshells? Why do I have to have multiple colors of the same blaster when the first one isn't even hard to get my hands on? Like, sell those as a Hasbro Pulse exclusive. In fact, if you're gonna do something good, put gray blasters, flat gray blasters. Produce a couple of them, put them on Hasbro Pulse for people to paint and customize. Because I would pay money for a blaster I don't have to sit there and sand horribly to get to painting it. That's already in a neutral color that's really easy for me to customize. A lot of people do. Painting Nerf blasters has been a thing since they came out. People love doing it. And that can't be that bad for your brand if people are painting them, right? Come on. Like, that's just a no-brainer. You have the infrastructure to do it, you might as well do it. But here we go with the Fortnite stuff. Just the last Fortnite box, there was nothing new in that entire box. It was all stuff I already had. I have not opened nor used any of those blasters, and there were multiples of them in the same. There were 2 of the scars. They're the same blaster. One was purple, one was white with burger and fry stickers. Why? Why does that have to be a thing? Yes, some are retailers exclusive, but they're still like $50 things that are the same thing as a $50 thing I bought last year. Why does this have to happen? Reshells are not a bad thing, and taking something that already worked well and putting it into a different form factor is, again, not a bad thing at all. I'd rather people be able to get their hands on a hammer shot or some kind of hammer shot derivative than not be able to get a hammer shot at all. Things like, I don't know, the Buzzbee Sentinel. Can't really get one of those economically right now. They aren't in stores, you have to pay a lot. And that kind of sucks because it's a good blaster and a good form factor that people really want. At least in this ecosystem. I don't know about, you know, some little kid picks it up and it's like, oh, it hurts my hand, I don't want it. And I know brand deals are exciting, so reshell some of your old stuff, put it in with a shell that people really like from a video game or a movie or something like that. It's just money. It's just a big old pile of money. But eventually people are going to be going to Walmart and seeing 4 or 5 different colors of the same thing they already have, and they already know that that is basically the same thing as this thing that they got 3 years ago. Now, there are some really interesting things that have come out, like, say, McCree's Blaster. I think that's an awesome idea. Even though people hated it, I thought it was really cool, because it did something different. And I really hope we see more stuff like that in the future. I want to see new and interesting things, and I think the Fortnite stuff is pretty much all reshells of reshells, and I mean, I'm sure it's printing money left and right, but my gosh. I know things aren't going to change right now, and I know Hasbro's already aware of most of these issues, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But I really want to see things change in the future. But if for some reason they're not, I really want to see things change soon. Because I'm worried that in the future, that because this logo that's being covered up by a clearance sticker for a product that hadn't even been out for a month before it went on clearance, this was literally purchased 2 weeks into October, that my hobby is going to suffer because of that, because Nerf was the genesis for the entire thing. We call it the Nerfing hobby, and yet here we are. And stuff like this hurts it, and I just want the good old Hasbro back. I know there's always going to be a blaster I don't like, there's always going to be a reshell, but if you're gonna do something, put a gimmick into it, make it do something new, make it do something slightly different every single time. And popular blasters that people want, like in the Icons line, it's a good idea to bring those back every once in a while. It's a good idea to bring back the Stampede, even though it's stupidly expensive and doesn't include everything. It's okay to bring back the Mag Strike, which was a complete, absolute blast from the past, that most of them didn't even work because they would stop feeding the magazines reliably because things were changed and they weren't tested properly before they went out the door. This is a long video. This is a boring one. This is all I could do. And honestly, it's probably even worse because there are things I probably forgot doing this. I should probably just reshoot the entire thing. And I'm honestly moving towards that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to upload this the way it is with some minor editing. And I'm hoping that we can see. I don't want to hate this logo. I don't want to hate Nerf. I don't want the stuff like this to be the punching bag for my hobby. But things have to change. Things are in trouble and they have to change. You've done good stuff. You continue to do good stuff. But as time goes on, it's just going to get worse and worse if these things and the Alpha Strike line don't get fixed. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. I know this is a bad video. It had to be done. It's been bothering me for a long time. I'm Walcom S7. Thank you so much for sticking to the end for me. Hit that like button, hit that dislike button, whatever works for you. Subscribe if you want more content like this. But of course, I'll see you in an entirely different video.
No response, but hey, you're ready back to back.